Cayman Voices was a dream that I had for several years now. It's about taking the power of storytelling to embrace our own collective history as a people. Through our individual stories, we're able to see the common thread that binds us together as one. One person's personal journey has become our collective culture, heritage, and history. This series will show people from all walks of life sitting down with me as the host and going through their life journey. Sometimes there are unknown elements of their lives, but ultimately we're going to walk away having learned something new with every person that we sit down with. I guess I would explain it as an exploration of our story. I'm naturally curious about people and their lives, so Cayman Voices is exciting and allows me to capture this for everyone to enjoy. We are seeking out Caymanians, multi-generational, as well as some who have moved here to, uproot their entire lives and to make this their home. This dream would not be possible without some sponsorship, and so I'd like to thank the DART organization for stepping up to the plate to ensure that we're able to deliver regular monthly content for our viewers to enjoy. So sit back, kick up your feet, turn up the radio, relax, and listen to Cayman Voices. So good afternoon. We're here for another edition of Cayman Voices, and this time we have ventured out in the beautiful district of Georgetown to talk to Miss Ethel. We call her Aunt Ethel around here. Barnes, good afternoon, my darling. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good. It's so nice to see you. It's a real pleasure for me to interview you because, of course, family, we get to learn a bit about our family's history, and I think people who have taken the opportunity to view your previous episodes of Cayman Voices will appreciate that here in the Cayman Islands, really and truly, we are one big family, and then we have our individual families that we're also connected to. So I walked into your home today, and I must say that I was really just amazed at all of the photo. I know you've picked out some photos for us that we're going to go through here today, but you are a collector of photos. Tell us why you collect photos. I mean, I think this is so amazing.
Over the years, when we were little, we always talk about our family.
Yes.
My mother especially said her brothers, which was her siblings, they all had left and went away. And every time we went, we were just anxious to see who their pictures, because we born and they're not here. Well, so I especially, my brother, when he went to sea, he returned with a camera and he gave that to me.
Wow.
And that was so exciting. Around Georgetown, especially in my neighborhood, we start taking pictures. And instead of having Miss Ella at that time, who were taking pictures of everybody, and Mr. Silberco, we start with pictures of our own, but then we had to get them developed.
Right. Yes.
So we would take them to her or Sigby and have them. So that was my collection in starting.
So that was kind of your hobby then, was photography?
Yes.
And how old would you have been when you got your first camera?
I was around 20 at that time when my brother returned back home.
All right. Well, we're going to go through some of the pictures. I'm sure they will trigger your memory about a lot of events. But before we do that, some of our listeners might be familiar with you and others may not know who you are. So tell us a little bit about your parents and where did they come from, so we can put it all in context.
Okay. My mother were born here in Georgetown. Her father were Benjamin Miles. Her mother, which were her dad, had went away, which grandfather Ben left and went to the mountains into Nicaragua, and when he came back, he brought this wife, which was her mother, born here in Cayman.
Wow.
Well, we, at that time, my mother grew up, and she was she just loved books. My mother was a reader, When we born, the first thing she taught us was books. I remember her saying in the years after she graduated, at that time you would say, from the Mr. Gorin school, my mother went out and she just loved flowers, which she was married then to my father, which were Edric Macfield from Lena Cohen at that time in her area.
Wow.
So it was just my mother married to Grandma Lena Cohen and her son, which was my father, Edric Macfield.
Okay, so let me make sure I get all of this now. So your grandmother then was from Nicaragua.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And what was your grandfather doing in Nicaragua? Was he there working? You mentioned he went in the mountains.
They were digging the gold in those days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Gold in those days. When he returned back, they would say they were rich. And which my mother said they didn't really need for anything. He brought this wife home with him. Then my mother born. And she had the siblings.
So they were gold mining in Nicaragua?
Gold mining in the mountains.
That's amazing.
Benjamin Miles.
Right. So lots of names, obviously, that you've mentioned. Miles, Macfield.
Yes.
All very, very familiar families from Georgetown. So your mom, was she an only child, or did she have
No, she had siblings, which was Ina, Severin, Otentia. And she had brothers, which was Lemuel, and one brother that I can remember her talking about was Charles. And so they were her siblings.
Right. Okay. And then she went on to get married. Now, remind me, who did you say she got married to?
To Edric Macfield.
Edric Macfield. Okay.
And his mother was Lena.
Right, Miss Lena. Okay.
Which were brother and sister to Antentia husband, Martin. So there added another family into my family now. Right. We had to call Otentia aunt.
Okay, all right. So where in Georgetown did you grow up? What area?
We grew up in the area where they call, it was a funny time that we named it Granville Road, off of Shadden Road, which is Shadden Road now, and then they named it Parker's Digging, which end up, I don't know what they got it today, because I haven't been around there really. I keep saying to my son, I need to go there and check what they renamed these streets and put from Shadden Road into where we were calling Parker's Digging, Granville Road, and where we grew up.
Now I don't even know where that is exact. I'm sure
that is off of that is right off of facing little away from Mary Street. That road turned around there. I don't know, because the Ramones are still there. I know Francis Ramon, I know that family, Jane, them. They're still there, which brought it out to from Martin Square into the direction that they call all of these names in these lanes that we used to know about as we grow. Now it's a different group of generation.
Yes.
Because
Wow.
have moved into neighborhood, adults have married and got their families, which is a good thing. Because that is knowledge
Yes.
and development into communities. And once you build a good community, you should have a strong families.
And a strong country too.
Country.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely. So, wow. Okay, I have an idea now. That's so incredibly interesting. So, how many children did your parents have?
My mother had 8 children.
She had 8 children. So, that's a pretty big family.
Yes.
Yes. And do you have memories of what would be some of your earliest memories growing up there in Georgetown?
Okay. When we grew into schooling, I went to Kippy's, which was Muriel School down Goring Avenue.
Okay.
I went there.
That was like a preschool?
Yes.
Okay.
It was like a preschool. It was kept on the porch, and when it rained, we were in the kitchen or the batteries. They used to have these houses where they had space in kitchen areas where we all enjoy being.
Okay.
Sitting on benches, but we didn't have the privilege because we had slates to write on first.
Right.
It were not books. We had slate and pencils.
Wow. Okay. So that was preschool, nursery school
So
days.
age,
Yes.
right.
Yes. And you mentioned your mom's love of reading being something that you fondly remember. So how did she pass that on to her children?
That's why she passed it on to especially me, and I pass it on especially to my daughter and my son. And we just love, and I notice my granddaughter is typical a reader too. So hopefully the generation line will keep on. We
Yes.
love to read.
Yes. Beautiful.
Read.
And how many, you mentioned your mom had 8 children. You were where in the number 8?
7.
You were number 7. So almost the youngest.
Yes, yes, yes. Almost the youngest.
Almost
7.
the baby then.
Right.
Yes. So you had everyone older than you. I guess they would have been, as a kid, kind of teaching you the ropes, and you had someone to play with.
Yes. So
now your father, after he well, that was your grandfather that came back from Nicaragua, but what sort of work did your father do?
my father went to sea.
He was a seaman.
He went to sea, and he was out in the turtling areas. He was a seaman for they would go out there fishing and bringing the turtles.
Right. Okay.
The turtles back to the
Yeah.
shipping them or over to Tampa. Most of them was going those days
Yes.
and
Beautiful.
eating home.
Yes. Was he home a lot? Because, I find that the more I do these interviews and I talk to people who were seamen, they were gone a lot.
Yes, they had the nesting. It took a long time. But I remember especially they were home for Christmas. December was a wonderful time. They would be back home. So all the most enjoyable time were there in December with us with our father.
Right. The whole family could then be together.
Yes.
Yes. Right. Wonderful. And that was then his primary profession. And did your mom work at all, or what did she?
Yes, my mom worked. She did, especially, she were very good in planning what you would call today directing for the government. The government, she worked for I remember the governor and different governors that she would plan the dinners for when they had their butlers and things. She got that job through the Pantons, Bertha Panton, especially. When he, at that time, were governing Bertie Panton, Gorney, and that family. So my mother was mostly slated in to do planning for the commissioners. A lot of times I remember going up to the glass where they used to have their functions and being there after they become so well known to my mother. I had a lot of interaction with their children.
Right. So she was what, modern day events planner?
Yes.
Yes, beautiful.
Yes.
Yes. And I think that must have been an unusual job in those days, I would think.
Yes, it was very thing, but she reading and making good menus with food. What they call recipes today.
Yes, she put that together. Wow.
Knowledge from her cooking.
Right. Wow. So would she do some of the cooking as well as part of her duties?
No.
She would have other people.
They had their own, but she had them plan and oversee that it was laid right.
Right. Wonderful. Oh my gosh, that's quite an interesting job.
Yeah, my mother was sometimes, I would laugh to see, you had to dress a certain way, and thank God we was well equipped. And at that time, living, how you live, prove who you are. And my mother was very qualified. She
made sure things were right.
Yes, she was a writer.
Yes.
And a writer in writing, and a right to do what's right.
Yes. Wonderful, beautiful. So I guess she must have had high expectations of her children. And you mentioned how, she, because of her position, she was also exposing you guys to different people in the community that you would say were, people of position then.
Yes, we were very good. And as her children grew, my father died when I was very young. He had an operation. After he came home from, I'll never forget it, it was a couple of months, my sister were pregnant in September, and it would bring my birthdays. My brother, and that's were all. And my father got a terrible hernia, and they said they couldn't do it here. So he was taken, my mother took him back, took him to Cuba. They left, and he worked so hard, I guess, in those days, wasn't strong enough for the surgery. He died under the operation.
Oh, wow.
So he was very, very taken. We were very taken. But we were well provided for. Because my brother were in England, and we were well.
They made sure everybody.
Yeah.
Your mom was taken care of, and all the younger siblings.
So since two of my mother kids were born, my mother's sibling, our siblings were born in Cuba.
Ah.
My oldest sister and my older brother.
Mm-hmm. Why were they born in Cuba?
That's where my mother used to be.
Oh, so
She left
ah.
and went to Cuba after they got married. And then, as I said, they returned back to Cayman with their third, when she was going to have her third son,
Mm-hmm.
which was born here.
Okay. And what were they doing in Cuba?
Working on the farms.
Mm-hmm.
They were in Isle of Pine.
Okay.
Because my mother, one of her sisters had went there. Those
Yes.
days in Cayman, Caymanians left and went into, because America was running Cuba
Yes.
at that time. They had a lot of work in Cuba. They had a lot of wealth. Wealthy people were there in Cuba. And Caymanians were well, especially in the Isles of Pine area.
The Isle of Pines, yes.
So that is what. And that is where he died. So I only left this last year, and I took the pictures of the funeral because his grave is still there, because where my father's buried, it belongs to the Catholic, and you cannot trouble that graveyard.
Okay, so he's buried in Cuba.
Cuba, yes.
Wow.
He did not return back.
Yes.
My mother did not return, so my brothers had it well sealed that it was the Catholic Church that the funeral was there, and it's only the first of the year. Last year I took it, so I wanted to show my daughter, because I had it here in Cayman and we forgot it about to take it, so it's in Pittsburgh, the picture of all this with my mother and everybody at that.
So how old were you then when your father passed away?
I was 7.
You were only 7.
He died just after my birthday was the 4th. The 4th of September. And my sister was pregnant, Rita, and she had a girl born the 17th, and my father died the end of September.
Wow. That was quite something.
Yeah,
yes.
So I have, at 7, I was 6 when they left here.
Right.
And I had my 7th birthday.
So your memories of him are probably somewhat limited then.
Limited, yes.
Yes.
I only remember very slightly of him, especially the year into where Decembers were.
Right.
Yes. And
because that stood out when he'd come home.
Yes, and when he were going away.
Yes.
You know, at that time.
Yeah.
So that we had the fun of Decembers. So.
As the whole family celebrated.
Yes.
The Christmas time. How did it impact you, you think, losing your father so young? I know you said your brothers picked up the slack financially, but do you think it impacted you in any way?
My mother, I worried about. I was very concerned. I was very close to my mother, which all of us was, but especially of me. And traveling, knowing she was away at that time by herself. I mean, not by herself, but with her sisters and their family.
Yes. So you worried about her, but
yeah. But afterward, my sister's here, and then we had the new baby. Kind of throw off,
kept everybody busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we had together. Very good, strong, loving, and we didn't need anything. We had a lot. Perhaps if we didn't have things or clothes or food or money, we may have worry. But at that time, I wasn't, and my younger brother, was not in need of anything.
That's amazing to say.
Yes.
In that time, especially.
Yes. Yes.
Because, I've done a number of these interviews now, and I can tell you the vast majority of people have memories of growing up so incredibly poor and in need. So it's amazing to have a refreshing story of someone who says, we had what we needed.
Yes. I tell you, we weren't in need for anything. I can't find myself at that age. I remember me my brother had invested in the Cayman, and he had shares in that. I remember at my age, 15, when I grew up, going to the office of Webster office where Annie Borden was, getting that pounds, coming home having money.
Yes. What was the Cayman? You said he was investing in the Cayman?
Yeah, a ship named the Cayman.
Oh wow! In a ship?
Yes, Cayman had a ship named Cayman.
Okay.
Look up there.
Yeah, we're gonna have a look at some of these photos here in a minute. But wow!
Now that you can see the shares where my brother had, where we were not in need of.
Yeah, but your brothers are smart. Then they knew to invest.
My brother were in England, and he believed in knowledge. He left here, he went to school and graduated. And when he came home, he came through Jamaica, and they were going to the Cayman, were buying this Cayman. The boat was named Cayman.
Yes, that's so amazing. And so he became one of the owners then of that.
He became shares in it.
A shareholder.
That's what I said. I guess us, we younger ones, my sister and myself, which were not married at that time,
you benefited from that.
We didn't need anything.
That is so wonderful. So you would actually go then to an office here and pick up the proceeds, I guess, of whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was shares. They pay you certain times. You had to go and get this money. I remember the pound, shilling, and pence, especially.
Yes, that's amazing. And then your mother, she continued to work.
No, yeah, she came back.
Yes.
And continued to work for the government.
Yes, beautiful.
And that, yes. So that area thing. So then I came out of government school after I left from 7, Miss Kippy, and we go to government school. So I went to government school out there. But Teacher Macfield, which was, we used to call him Timothy, Buddy, and Mr. Hill.
And where was the school located?
Right out there on the dock now where they destroy. And that's where government school was.
Right.
And we went out there until I was 15.
Right. Okay.
I was 15, and Then, of course, they didn't keep you no longer because you reached sixth standard.
Yes.
You reached sixth standard. And being, I had loved books. We would go to the library and had books, and my mother was very concerned about me with math. So that's why she always allowed me to handle money. So I could get in a habit of money, adding, addition. And
She wanted you to get some real life experience then.
yeah, so when it come on all of that, because she knew I was already a good reader, and math she was very concerned about.
Right.
So after that, then walk another school. Now I'm 15 going on 16. We had to, I did the Jamaica local, and I wasn't interested in anything else, so I was home, and my mother said to me one day, my cousin, they're all the little cousins home. Why don't you take these, since you're sitting with these babysitters, why don't you start to teach them? So I opened then my preschool.
Wow. And how old would you have been?
I was 15,
Oh my gosh.
going on 16.
Right.
And my first student was my cousin children, Dania children, Larry, Freddie, and Lana Sue.
So that is how you got into the business then? All those years ago?
Yes,
At the age of 15?
yes.
Wow.
And after having them, my mother hired Coriel Rankin to help with cooking and things out in the Berta Pattern area. She had her children, so she sent Ken, Joey, and Dulcie. So I started out mostly with the friends and family children. And we had a nice big area down right back in where they got the park now today in Georgetown, which was my original home, down that area. We had school. I had that school, and Ken, Joey, and Dulcie. I'm sorry to hear that she passed away. In fact, all three of them, they tell me now passed away.
Wow.
Which I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah.
They're my sib, but at least I still got a few still living, because Daniel's children, Freddie, Larry, and Lana, and then I had quite a few more that I still hear is around. That was the Bird, Rosabelle Bird children, which was Medea and Rachel, and quite a few other ones that is scattered now. But there, I kept them that till when I get 17, we moved into Shaden Road. My sister, them were married and they got houses up there. So my brothers were taking her at that time to New York.
Okay.
And she said we were going to leave, me and her were going to leave, because all the brothers now is at sea, and every 15, 16-year-old young man in Cayman is with Sutwell.
Yes, they're going out to the ships.
They're shipped. They're out with Southwell. And we're all adults, teenagers, and what the next thing to do would be married. because the boys coming home.
Right.
And thank God at that time, their mothers was very with their sons, and you couldn't blame them.
Yes.
And sons gonna look for girlfriend. And then afterward, I am 17 going on 18. My brother said to my mother, we're coming. I want you to come to Brooklyn, New York. So we started getting ready. We were leaving. Three my sisters in their home, and it was only me one who wasn't married. Then I left. I'll never forget it. Hal Gasimo came, and he, at that time, he says, okay, to my mother, your son said I must bring you, and your daughter. And this is the picture of me right now.
Let's bring that a little bit closer. Oh, isn't that something? So this was your first passport photo.
Yes, to leave.
That is so amazing. So in this picture you are 18, 19?
Yes.
Wonderful.
And when I went there, my brother said, you didn't finish high school, so there I'm going to have to go to school.
Good. Wow.
So I was going to Northeastern Academy Adventist High School in the Bronx.
Right.
And I had feel bad because there I am, 19.
With these younger kids.
And other kids are there, they're coming out of school.
Yes.
But that was, my brother said, you have to go to school. So I studied, and another friend of mine, her from East End, she was my age too, and her brother, her sister brought her to Brooklyn too, so from East End. So the two of us were going down there. So I didn't
You had
feel...
a little company then.
Yes. I didn't feel bad anymore because somebody and myself, even though these kids didn't know how old we were. They only know that we were from the island. They didn't worry about age.
Yeah, right.
They didn't worry about age because we weren't that look old.
Yes, yes.
We still look regular teenagers.
Yeah, of course. Of
So...
course. And I mean, that's so amazing that your brother knew how important education was.
Oh, my brother, he was everything of education. He did law, he did everything at his age.
Wow.
An old man when he went to New York. Real estate lawyer.
Wow.
Ashley McKinsey was my brother, but he was a well educated. He just loved, and anybody come, he would say, go to school.
Amazing.
It was very, I know we had this lady from Cayman. She was descent from, I think it was Nicaragua too, yes. She was descent into a family member here of us. She was there. And she was going to get her citizenship. I'm telling you, my brother said, you going to learn to read. You have to write. And she was living in Jersey. When she came, neighborhood, every night he said, you come in on weekend, and you going to school out there in the night alone, even to write your name. If you don't do anything else, you need to go and get your citizenship to become an American. What you gonna do? You have to know to write your name.
That's amazing.
And he will. I tell you, the people that came from Cayman, that he wanted everybody to go to school.
Yes, we need that now. I can tell you what, that's amazing.
He want everybody. At that time, he want everyone.
Yes.
You had to go to school.
Yes, very good. All right, so a brother who valued education, a mother who loved to read and wanted to instill a good foundation in you, who said, get to work at 15, keep busy. You go to the big city, New York, you get to complete your high school education. Do you go on to university after that, or what do you do then?
No, unfortunately, I got a boyfriend. And being a seaman, he wanted to start a family. So we got married, which were not so nice with my brother. He wanted me to continue education, but he didn't. He only said, I wish. So after I...
Now this boyfriend you found in New York?
No, this boyfriend is a Cayman seaman. Charles Roosevelt Barnes.
Yes, all right.
So I became then, we lived, and afterwards, since I were there into New York, and...
So how did you meet him if you were in New York?
No, but I knew from Cayman.
Okay.
We love each other from Cayman.
Okay, so you kept in touch then?
Yeah, when he came into the ship, all the seamen were coming, and they would come round to my brother, and I could give you some good jokes about them, but how they couldn't find their way back to the ship.
Oh my goodness.
How many times I went in to take them to get their train into go back to Philly, because most of them the ships were docking in that area.
Okay. So
one night a group of them came up and they didn't know how to get back. So I got on the train.
Wow.
I took them to 34th Street for them to catch the other to go to Philly. So I were being traveling up and down, going to school in the Bronx. You pass all of these trains, so you got to know how to move.
Right.
How to move. So I was very good in traveling in New York. I learned a lot of things because most of my brother friends, their wives were there, and they would have to go places. Most of them were seamen with their foreign wives, and they had to be. So I was really the advocate for all them. I guess if some of them would hear me now, they would talk and said how much I did for their families.
Right.
Because one thing in New York, we loved each other. We Caymanians hang together. They were very close.
Right.
Brooklyn people, and I wouldn't name no names on this, but every family we would get together. So afterward I stayed, and Charlie came back and forth, and when he was having his vacation, he decided that we should return home for a while, and which, as I said, my brother wasn't so pleased that I wasn't continuing going on. But I said, well, when I come back, I would continue to go. I wouldn't really want to go to the university at that time because I was pregnant with Janet, and we were here. So that caused me, but I still studied and read and do a lot of communication for knowledge.
Yes, yes.
For knowledge.
Yes, very good. So you returned then to Cayman.
Yes.
And started a family.
Family.
Yes. Wonderful. So you've got some pictures, some more pictures to show us over there. So let's see what else you've got for us now.
This is my mother.
So this would be your mom. You're just going to show this. So tell us a little bit about this picture of her here. When would that have been?
This picture is when my mother was 80.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How old did she live to be?
80, my age.
Yeah.
I'm living the age that my mother.
Ah, so she was 87. Wow.
Yes, 88.
88.
I am living the age of my mother.
Yeah.
When she died.
Wow.
But of course, the life that Cayman life laid them, the hard work in those days.
Yes.
The difference with me, I had all the wealth, I had all the care, and the choice in life. That's the difference.
Yeah.
This was when she was in her 70s.
Right. Wow. Beautiful. Had on her nice proper hat.
Yes.
And outfit there.
And thing.
Yes.
So, this was when I used to hang out into.
Oh, yeah, you look quite proper there.
I went to a banquet.
Oh, wow, look at that. Beautiful. Well, that's a lovely outfit.
Yeah, there's New York days.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, well, I returned back to Cayman. I stayed here. And my daughter, Charlene Janet, was born here in Cayman. And Charlie went back to sea. And after that, when my daughter was 4 years old, he decided that he would want to retire from going with National Bulk, which was Southwell. And since I was American and he could get his papers, he would.
Oh, so you had at that point already been an American citizen?
Yes, after when
Okay.
Janet and myself.
Okay, right. So
We were residents of the U.S. at that time.
Right. Okay.
What they used to say, green card.
Green card holders. Yes.
Yes. I don't know whether blue now or what color.
Yes,
It's
yes,
so
yes.
much trouble. But, so anyhow, so we went up and my brother then filled out the papers and sent them to Venezuela, and he was there. He just got them because I was already
So it was easy in those days.
easy for him. So, and then so he came, and he decided. Then my brother said, "You need to go and continue because Charlie already had the license for third engineer." He said, "You need to continue to school and become more professional in it, and you don't have to stay in America. When you go back to Cayman, you could continue," which he would encourage all the young men. While you're all here, take advantage of education.
Yes.
Come off the ship for a couple of months and stay here and go. That was my brother's advice to the young Caymanians.
Yes.
A lot did that and got licensed and had the enjoyment of knowledge.
Wow, that's truly amazing. So you started a family. You've got two kids.
One, and then I
And
had
then you got your youngest. Then after
yeah.
that, yes.
Then I had my youngest one,
Yes.
which was he
Little
was
Charles. he must have loved music from day one. That's him in front of the piano there.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Not only that, my mother had a radio, and my mother loved born ears. Oh, she was there. One day when he were round about 4, going on 5, he was left in her room because he used to love to be in my mother's room. My mother had that big area, and which we hang out there because it had a sofa, and all the fun, we would be there because when my brother would come from work in the evening, he would throw himself there, because one thing with my brother, he decided, because my father died very young, we were young kids when our dad died. My mother would never need for anything, and for the rest of her life he would never get married. So my brother Ashley never married because
Wow.
he wanted my mother. He said she worked very hard raising 8 kids, and she would never want for anything.
So he was very loyal to her.
Yes.
Yes.
And when we were there in the house, went up and down, so he would love my son Charles. He used to call him Boogie. Come Boogie in the evening. And after work, he would do. So Charles even got in the habit of hanging around with my mother. And when this day, we were downstairs. I think we were doing it in the backyard, putting in some flowers. He was upstairs, and a friend was there with him, with her little son. So that we talked. He took my mother radio apart. He took it apart, and when I said, where in the world, this is short band radio. This radio been for years. My mother had that for years. Now there it was. So anyhow, the joke about it, it was such a thing when Charlie came in. I said, you have to go out and buy my mother a radio. He said, no, I'm not going to buy none. He said, my brother said, Boogie, put that radio back together. Your father's not going to buy no radio. You open it, and we're going to send you back upstairs in your room, and you're going to have to put it together.
Wow.
He managed, and when we heard it playing, we were so astonished. From then we know technology wasn't in other people, but it born in him. So there was the beginning of music with him, from a radio.
Yes, and of course, a lot of people, they might hear you talking about Boogie and Charles. They don't know who you're talking about, but that's Chuck DJ.
Yeah, that's Chuck, right?
So on radio, even now, all these years, oh my goodness.
So better than that, now, when he went to school, he left, and at his thing, he didn't go to school for kindergarten. My mother was School was round the corner. We had this lady called Miss Shue. She came out one summer with her bullhorn down the neighborhood. I want all these that keeping their kids home to, I want them to come out to school. It is summertime, and we're going to get these young kids used to school.
And this was in New York?
Yeah. Charles Edwin didn't go to like how preschool, kindergarten, and thing.
Okay.
So because we kept him home and taught him.
Yes. Wow.
My mother didn't want him out of herself. It was just that she just loved him so. And she said, at that time, I was working. I was working then. And she said, Andrea, my niece, and all the other kids, she said, they would bring them to my mother. And my sister, youngest ones, all were home. We never did send them out because my mother was there. And that was the beginning. When he went to school, he went right into first grade.
Okay.
And one of the teachers in his class, he said the pledge. You know, I pledge.
Pledge of Allegiance,
Then
yes.
Thanks, so. She called the school call. I'll never forget my mother and say, you need to come out here. We didn't know we were after you about him, but you had a real school because he is the only one who can stand here in this auditorium. We are going to have them all out today. And the next day, this was Thursday and Friday for the assembly, and he is the leader.
And he already knew the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, he knew everything. When he went to school, and they would say anything, he would say, that's my Grammy taught me everything. I don't have to do that because I learned that done. We had so much trouble with him and the teachers because when they go, I know that. My grandmother taught me that. I don't have to do that one. I can do. So really, growing up was with my kids were real fun. Even though Cayman, I had knowledge, I went right into Brooklyn, New York, and with my children. Well, then, of course, Charlene was into the elementary school, and I have she was there, and she was so worried about him when he were get into that school.
Yes.
Because now she is in, and now we bringing him.
Yeah.
She said, oh, Mom, you be ready in the evening to get him. But I said, well, if he wanted, because he's a boy, if he fight, he'll fight. But a friend, Doreen, her name was Doreen, and she had one, which we all were friends, Angela, and my daughter was in the same class, so we would leave early and be by the door, and when they come out, I get him and she got her son, so we would walk home with them. So it was very good. I really had some enjoyable time. And when I were not there, my mother was more anxious to get out and watch the time.
Yes.
And that is.
And what kind of work were you doing at that time?
I worked for a company, and I was teaching them. Instead of me doing the work, I was teaching them how to. It was label sweaters. This was a knitting company I worked for, and teaching them how to label and how to examine if the shirt or the sweater had a drop, how to tell. I got with that company. I said, no, I'm not going to do the work. I'll never forget it. It's Rose, an Italian. And it was very close. And they had loved me because instead of me going out doing hard work, I decide now I'm going to find a way. So my brother said to me, okay, this is what you decide to do. You be the examiner because, and he taught me that. He said, if you learn in business, if you're going to, since you want to go back to Cayman, and you don't want to go and hold none of these traveling into New York City, because you know the office is all, you're not going to find at that time into, you're going to find factories of every kind. Offices are in the city. You don't want to be far from home, since you with your kids find a way. So I got with this company, and it were to an examiner. We saw it advertised, and but before that, I got on to the girls and I said, what you have to do? So she told me, and a little woman, a friend of my brother, she told me what I had to look for, what I had to do, and how to do. So I went and we had this. When the presser sent out the work, the sweaters or whatever knits that they had, I examined them before they be labeled or the company that one thing, and that's what I did.
Wow. So you basically created this job for yourself?
Yes.
As a garment inspector?
Yes.
Wow.
Just through my brother knowing and really said, met a lot of people who gave you what they're doing when he was selling houses, what you done. So I did that. And then not only that, then I would walk around and see the machines. I would check how they do the knitting, how they made them, and get a good idea of what the business was like.
Wow.
Till I returned back to Cayman.
Yes. Wow, that's quite fascinating.
Yes, and I tell you, it is that. And then not only that, I went to a machine, how to separate. They call it the cloth, which is to go to the machine to do the sweaters. Everything I learned through moving from frame to frame, moving thing. So I had this nice friend. So one day they were short, because sometimes if the work not coming off, then you may be shift to what you can do then. Because sometimes the knitters may be holidays and Jewish holidays. So you had to know different areas what if you want to make money. It was just making money.
Yeah, you had to adjust.
You had to adjust and you had to know. So sometime when lunchtime, especially lunchtime, I would go around to the knitters and see what they were doing, because they had to go back to work before we as examiners to get the work. So I would go to the machine. I'll never forget this one, Anita. She was from the Philippines, very nice woman. And she would say to me, my work coming out, I want to make extra because they were working piecework.
Okay, so they got paid by the piece.
Piece, yeah.
Yeah.
The machines are piecework, but I was in piecework because you got to examine for companies. And I learned to, and then I would sit down by the machine, like, talking to her. And then I learned to see the machine and easy how to separate, how to print, how to do. And that's what I did.
Wow.
Very knowledgeable, but learning
always willing to
something.
learn.
And not only that,
Yes.
be able to be helping as an art, because sometimes they would say to me, oh, help, I need this, I need that, my money's short, and then I would say, get your work up to the pressers. When the pressers, then your work would come in to all the examiners who would think, and then I learned the game, those who, and then I get extra or anything. I learned who was the fastest, and I was fast. I throw, and I could fold and examine.
Wow. So there was a method to all of this, and you quickly picked up on how it worked.
Yes, and
Yes.
then I became the lover of all them, from the Jews to
Yeah.
everybody I worked with them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
I didn't really. I know when I went to have Charles, I had more gift, more presents from work.
Yeah, they respected what you did.
It's
And appreciate it.
everything that, I'm making a sweater, I'm making this for your daughter, I'm making this. And the knitters
Wow.
always bringing me fruits, basket. I was totally, because I did the good things to help people.
Yes. Wow. That's so good. All right, let's talk a little bit. We're going to fast forward a little bit. You started your family. You told us a little bit about your work history. But of course, you've been a business owner here in Cayman, running a preschool for many, many years. So tell us how did you get started with that?
Well, when after we decided to come home, Charlie said, why the house is here? You're not bringing no children, because Charlene is already into high school, into college. Charles is into, so he came with me, and he went to Triple C, and he'll be leaving to go away to college. But before he left here, we didn't make him finish here. We sent him to an Adventist school in Philly. So, to get out of Cayman, he went back, and he was very up there, and his school, his record is right there too, hanging there. And so then I decided to come in 1972. I came, and the place was rented. Then Dean Kelly had rent the building, and she was
Right.
there for several years.
Yes.
And then she decided that she was not going to. At that time, I was working then as for assistant housekeeper for Holiday Inn.
Okay.
I had that too. I had to, was smart enough to go. They had to up there and learn to be how to inspect, as I had already know, but not a hotel. And managing maids, they call them, which should not have been that type. It should be just another name. Because
Like a supervisor then for the
no,
housekeeping.
instead of calling the maids, instead of calling the helpers who were cleaners, and they called some maid. I don't know if they changed that system
Yes.
here, for the hotel
More
workers.
housekeeping.
Yeah, we were the housekeeper at Mavis. William was the head housekeeper, and I were the assistant
Okay.
for Holiday Inn, which were owned, privately owned.
Right.
And after that, then Dean decided that she was going to give up the school. So Charlie said to me, he said, we might as well not allow it to go back into anything, because nobody, the children are not here to live. Let us just open a preschool for ourselves.
Right.
And that's what we got together, the family. And we had Little Angels preschool. And
what year would this have been roughly now?
this were into 99.
Okay.
This were into 90, in the 90s.
Yes, in the 90s.
In the 90s, because at that time, 91, I had left. I had left Holiday Inn in 91, and had gone to Bonaventure to be house mother for those boys.
Oh, okay. So you were at Bonaventure? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Caymanians was there, and I'll never forget it. This social worker, which was an Englishman as a social worker, he went down there to Bonaventure home, and he said, how can somebody who foreign don't know the Cayman children? They don't know how they could raise Cayman children. And it was told, it was out.
Wow. That's the same question we're asking now in 2023.
The same thing.
Because they don't have any Caymanians working there anymore. So this is, but he, as an English man, he asked the question.
Yes, Mr. He came, and I'll never forget. I came in June. I didn't go back then to Holiday Inn. And he drove up here, and he said to me, he said, I would like you to apply through. I understand you that you're a very good mother. I would like you. And he was the Tower Building then. It was war going on there, as usual amongst these people. And he said, no, Cayman children need Caymanians there. Not one Caymanian was there. And he came, and he drove me straight to Bonaventure home. And he said, this is what I want you to apply for this job. Well, of course, when they saw me, war break out. It was their excuse.
How did you meet?
Miss Jane?
How did you meet this Englishman?
Through a friend, a worker at the glass house.
Okay.
A glass house. She told him, don't even take me up to tower, because with Miss Jane and the crowd there, they can find their excuse. He drove me himself to see Bonaventure and fixed that they could not move, but I had to have that job.
Wow. Now you say Miss Jen. Who is that?
She was one of the workers up in a social worker there.
Oh, okay. And where were they from?
Caymanians, mixing, as usual.
Yeah, so your own Caymanians, they were saying, the woman said, would hold you back.
Yeah.
But this Englishman sorted it out.
He never did.
Wow.
He alone. Someone told him about me from the glass house. I'll never forget those workers at the glass house that knew. And I, of course, they will know when they hear it who they are, because we don't need to call no names.
Yes.
But it's so good to know that he came here one evening to my house and took me there.
Wow.
And he said, now this job is yours. And you go to the glass house, fill out that paper, and hell broke loose down there in Bonaventure. Everything, they even set the children up to try to make life miserable for me. But I tell you something.
Wow.
Those kids, they don't know how. Those kids couldn't even read.
Oh my gosh.
They had those kids there just using government money, taking them on the beach, doing this. Well, anyhow, it forward that I'm going to call another name like that. She came in, another Caymanian, Miss Evilly, which we call her Miss BJ. She came down there to Bonaventure too. I think it was a year after I get there, because before he left Cayman, he was on his way out from here to return back to England as a working there into Tower with these troubled Caymanians who did not, that was bringing every person. But the one in Bonaventure didn't know who he had to deal with when he had me. Because I don't fight. I have someone else to fight for me, and that's God. God knows those children needed a better life. God knew that those children would turn out to be something. Not everyone were going to be lost. They were going to be saved by someone to teach them a principle of foundation. And the principle was love, care, kindness, forgiving one another, and working. But not because their parents that they took them from were bad. That wasn't the issue. The parents needed help.
Yes.
The parents were young people who got mixed in with the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
But those kids was just loving, and they just loved me. And every time they would tell them anything, the kids would say, yes, yes. Then I remember one instant, one of the social workers one morning came down there and oh, she was this and thing. I just looked at her. I said, you don't know who you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
But one young lady who was a mother that had some went up to the tower.
Mm-hmm.
And then she told her, she didn't even know the story that, but she had bothered her. And she said, you see, this is where Cayman workers that work jobs, they don't take time to learn principle and kindness to the other Caymanian. They just go back. Oh, don't go back in no family member. That's not none of your business. You're there to raise, to be a better person in your community. You are the character, loving kindness.
Yes.
And that is what is wrong with here in Cayman.
Yes.
They have no love for their own Caymanians. They go back because somebody in a family with their foolish self just forgive and move on and be happy.
Yes.
And Caymanians dying because they're sitting down. Not every child going to be saying that, yes, they get mixed up with the wrong thing. But these boys, if you help them, you can help them become a better person by loving them, helping them to do good principle, and let them know they're not alone. When there's a God above, they can be kind to their parent who may not have the skills. Get them into training.
Yes.
If Cayman children were being trained, not everyone going to be an educator.
Yes.
You know,
Or a lawyer.
or a lawyer.
doctor.
My
Yes.
daughter was a professor from time she was in her 20s. We're not going there because we want to think. She tried to even get a job here with some of the legislators to help. We're coming here to teach and be free when she's off in the summer. And those are the Cayman, which they got it now, college now, university,
Yes.
refuse it.
Wow.
They refuse to the college into Newlands. She, Lola's daughter, would always fighting to get my daughter come here to do free work in the summer. No, these Cayman politicians or whatever they want, they don't want to see. We got people in the families who are outstanding.
Yes. Wow. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
And
It's so
you
sad.
see, the younger Caymanians do not know because their older generation,
Yes.
most of them in the family, it is so sad, has gone under and not
Yeah.
there to root and show them. That's why we're here, and I take my granddaughter and I tell her, I said, you have to be a decent, upright, but start it at home. It's a lot of nice things that you can do. You can help others. Not everybody going to go out there and become what you think, because before they even become it, you think they're going to be no good. Stop with that word. It's always something good in every person. And if we encourage them and take them on these jobs, how many young people are in any jobs now training in Cayman now with all of this way of life?
Yes.
It is there it goes.
Yes.
There it goes. They should have them find out every year, every time they're not going to bring back something. By the time you come around, the plane is full of who you no Caymanians. No Caymanians.
Wow.
We got so many people who are doctors, who and lawyers in my family, in other families, all around. A lot of families came on, good families, and who people may not think was going to be anybody. Can be somebody if you would know, but they're just not willing. I know I had all kind of trouble with them in that job, but I stayed there. I stayed there till 2014.
Wow. So how many years that would have been?
I came there in 91.
Yes. Wow.
And I went to Bonaventure, and then I went up to Francis Borden there, and they tried to put all kind of stupidness with these workers, but these workers know better when they see me, because I just look at them and say, it's you all who gotta go, because I have nothing but love, and I want to see these young people.
Wow.
Young people who can be something.
Yes.
But you got to help them get there.
Yes.
They can't get there by themselves.
Absolutely. Amazing.
And people need to stop buying material things for their kid. Spend time with them and let them know you can work for that, because that's going to always be around.
Yes. Absolutely.
You got to tell your kids that.
Yes.
So you can have money that you don't have to beg. You don't have to borrow. I'm not ashamed to say it, but I'm going to say this one, that I told my granddaughter. She was laughing. I'm talking about, I said, no. My daughter said, my mother is save money. She spends money. And last year when I come Cayman, I had to, and all because I had to get a credit card, was because if I had overweight, in the airport,
you couldn't pay cash anymore.
It's only because they go. That is the joke.
Yes, you finally got a credit card.
I had to get a credit card because I was never borrow. I borrow one when I was working holiday and to get a car, and I paid that off so quick in the bank to get that car that the loan officers tell me not to do it. You paying again for that? I said yes. I don't credit. I pay for my stuff and I'm going to live. So that was the joke when the grandchildren laugh about that one. That I called them all grandchildren.
Yes, yes.
That I had to get a credit card because the airport, if I had overweight, which I didn't, and I didn't know how to use it, so.
Very good, very good. Oh my goodness. So, do you have any siblings that are still alive, or you?
No, I'm the oldest one of all of our siblings. Yes, I'm the oldest one. That's why my nieces and my nephews love me to the point everybody calls me, and they're very good, especially those ones that are in the scatter around in the States. They're very fond of me, and of course, my daughter. She has forever taken me somewhere. I don't have the time to be sitting down because every meeting she have at the universities, I go to more universities, and even though I didn't went and studied there, but I be sitting up in meetings.
Yes, yes. So she's still teaching.
Yeah, she's at Pitt's University now.
Oh, okay.
She just they're open now.
Yeah.
She worked for all her life. She worked for how many places my daughter she taught. This is man here. Right, we see. South Dakota, he was the one who was a professor. And South Dakota, she went there. And when she went there, you know, worry about people. She went and she got Ira African that she could get to come in America and fill that and leave. And then she went from there to Iowa. And then she taught in Iowa. Then she came back from Iowa back to New York. And Andrews University, Adventist.
Yes.
And then she left from that and she taught into West Virginia for over 10 or 11 years. And now Bethany, she just worked with them for diversity, get them on the back together in their college. We got a lot of Africans there too, helping them, and some from Florida, young people.
Yes.
That they can, and the Virginians who they got is poor, getting working with them. But now she is went back to Pitts because she was at Pitts first in diversity too, holding conferences.
Yeah.
And right now she's stable at Pitts.
Okay. Beautiful.
Yes.
Absolutely
and
beautiful.
That is her life. And of course, you know, she had these 3 boys that are that I am helping her to be around with them since I left Florida area because, you know, my friends, they're all passed away.
Yeah.
That we were into Brooklyn, Leonard and Dorley, which was why I left here in 2014 and went to Florida to have Sharon with, take care of the siblings, and then
so you're back and forth now.
No, I'm strictly moved right back now to between Pittsburgh, which is we're into Allegheny County.
Okay.
Not in the city of Pittsburgh, in the mountainside of Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
Yes, my daughter bought the land and had the house built there.
Beautiful.
So that's where I'm at. And back in Cayman, so I'll be more often coming back to Cayman now.
Yes, wonderful. So as you reflect on your 87 years, it sounds like you had a very full life.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, because I traveled a lot. I went all the way. My daughter, we went to Europe, went to Holland, went to Belgium, went to Germany. And of course, my daughter went in Africa, and she set up the curriculum for the Adventist College in India. I didn't go there with her, but she back and forth in between the West Indies and St. Lucia.
Yes. What's the most interesting place you visited, you thought?
The most was Holland.
Yes.
It was more like home. Home was the best joke one because a friend of mine were ordering fish, and when I was looking out, I was sitting in the restaurant by and I could see, and they were taking so long, and I called him and I said, you know something, did you realize that you could have fished right out there like Cayman and catch your own fish? And we could take it back to the hotel and cook, and we were laughing about that. So, and the beauty. And another with Belgium, I was very taken up with that, with their lace and their knitting material.
Right.
But I really have some good fun, and then in New York, New York was the original home of life started me out. So
Yes, wonderful. Anything else you'd like to share with us? I mean,
You
this has been
know,
an amazing interview. Thank you so much.
you know what I would like to say? I would say that I wish the homes here would get back to basic by praying with their kids, loving with their kids, teaching the kids that about God in a way that their homes can be close together.
Yes.
And they'll be able to love their friends, and they don't be so angry. And parent can take kids with manners. Kids are roaming, they have no respect. What I see, and it was not like that.
Yes.
But parents need to just hold the kids little and say, you know, be nice. Be nice to yourself and stop being so rude. And don't worry about what your friend got. Be glad that your friend got and be happy what you have.
Yes.
They
Absolutely.
need to build a home with foundation. That's what we had. We had homes with foundation. As you said, I was real blessed. I have good memories of we didn't need anything we have. And up to now, I don't need anything. I got more than enough. I have I support prisons in America. I support Maranatha ministries given to countries, Africa, Asia, South Pacific, down in Honduras and all over. That is my mission to do. And of course, when I was here in Cayman at the church here, we had a strong foundation. We had cooking, we would feed. I know if I had a car, I could drive for myself, raw coal, anywhere, and see the rest of people who I guess is alive there. The younger ones would know me, but I know if anyone. So you see, foundation. The Cayman Island needs families with strong foundation.
Yes.
Instead of just taking on about food, take on about living, living happy, playing inside their homes, doing nice things with the family. We have here with happiness. Love your neighbor. You don't have to be every minute calling on them, but when you see them, you can say good morning or happy or thank you for whatever. That life. And it would be so much, and I'm so happy to know you are on going around doing this, because they need to hear the truth. They need to stop criticizing. They need to love, being kind to each other. And that is what the blessing. I'm so happy to all the Barnes family and all them. They know what the good I have been to all of
beautiful
around here in Cayman.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. This was a real pleasure for me. I can't tell you. It really was. Thank you.
And I'm so happy. I got to find that picture with you when you were little with a dog.
Oh, with a dog. Oh, my goodness.
I think I took it back to Pittsburgh.
Oh, my goodness.
So sometime I like
You'll
to
find
have
it for me. Yes, thank you so much, my dear. All righty.
All right. Thank you, son. It's a loving time for me and you.
Yes, I really appreciate that.
This one is with the church people in Georgetown. And this is me and my sister, Vernell. which is Donna's their mother. And let me find one where
that would have been the house on Shaden Road, right where the good old restaurant is.
And let me find one with Marjorie, with Karen. And look at Karen. Karen got so much. Look at that's my boy. When he had the afro.
When I had hair.
This is when he was 10 months, you know.
Oh my
10
gosh.
weeks. 10 weeks we had just bring him home.
That was 10 weeks old then.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this, of course, let me put Paris in it. This is my brother I even got his graduation picture at his age there in the 50s and 60 years old, graduating in. It is so sad. Don't want to. Oh yeah, this is my other sister, Marjorie.
She looks familiar.
That's Karen, and that's Karen's mother. Oh, I know I had with my uniform. What, I gotta get, Charles, I gotta get back some of these with me. Oh, let me get Janet, one with Janet. And, what this one is, this is the siblings. This is her and her children, grandchildren.
I can see the willows waving on your southern shores as the breeze
Because we was,
gently
that's one
whistles
thing. They need to take these children to these museums, even whatever is in Cayman, that you know, spend some time with them, and the children wouldn't be so bored and miserable beside just sitting there worrying.
island. For I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman. Come back home to your island. For I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman. I can smell the salty air upon your harbor as the northwest winds they blow across the sea. And I see the foaming whitecaps as they break against your shores. Like a distant drum I hear them call to me. Come back home to your island. For I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman. Come back home to your island. For I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman. And although a distant sea has come between us, and I've been to many ports in many lands, I can see West Bay beaches with its shiny coral sand, and my heart it longs for you, oh Grand Cayman. Come back home to your island, for I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman. Come back home to your island, for I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman.